What up, Corner Crew? Welcome back to another episode of the Hip Hop Happy Hour podcast. I'm your host, as always, Brad Bailey. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. It's episode number 94. Man, we're on our way to 100. Still blows my mind. Shout out to everybody that's ever been on. Shout out to everybody that will be on in the future. We have a dope lineup set for September. I posted it on Facebook. I don't remember it off the top of my head because you know how it is. We don't remember shit. We're old. But I just want to make a quick little announcement that we're doing Weapon ESP's record release party November 8th, Starlight, Southbridge, Massachusetts. I'm not going to say who's on the bill. Y'all going to have to wait for that shit. But you're definitely going to want to tap into that. But for tonight, coming out of Flagler Beach by way of Connecticut, we got Mike Martinez.
Yo,
what up, bro?
what's going on?
Not much, man. It's been a long time coming, getting you on the show.
Has it?
Yeah, it's every time, man. I have a list of people I always want to reach out to. You know what I mean? And then it's just like, it just fills up so fast. I forget. But we get there. You know what I mean?
I appreciate you having me.
Thank you, sir. The way I like to kick this off is for those out there that don't know who you are, tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you're all about.
Oh, so for everybody then, because nobody really knows who I am.
Nah, people know who you are. Trust me.
I'm Mike Martinez. I'm an MC, producer, engineer. I run a little boutique record label. I've been making music making hip hop specifically since 2002 up in Connecticut. Moved to Boston for a couple years, East Boston, and been down in Florida since 2011. I have a little label called Beach Village Records. I'm in a duo called Jesus Martinez, and I'm in a crew called the Unusual Suspects out of Daytona Beach.
I actually used to live in Daytona Beach a very long
time
ago. Yeah,
it's a grimy place.
Oh, and it was. I mean, I keep up on the statistics and all that of what's going on there because I still have people down there. Like my brother lives in Ormond Beach, which isn't too far away.
I work in Ormond.
Yeah, I mean it's fallen off very hard since. I mean, even the 90s, it wasn't the best place to be. People always thought it was like, ooh, sun and fun and surfing. Nah, that was 2 weeks a year, bike week and spring break, and that was it. And the rest of that shit, you watched out. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was early 90s, like 93 to 98. So
at least they still had spring break back then. They don't even do it anymore.
Yeah,
it was official.
It started stopping actually like near the end of when I was living there. It was like they weren't doing anything. MTV moved away from it.
Yeah.
And that kind of killed it. So, but yeah, Daytona Beach is a rough place, man. People don't get it. But hip hop influences. You grew up, you said in Connecticut, Northeast, you know. What were you listening to as a kid?
Well, the first like hip hop I can remember back when I was a kid was we used to go roller skating all the time, and they'd be playing like Rob Bass. It's like some of the earliest stuff, and like Tone Loc was like the earliest stuff I remember. But Rob Bass was probably like my favorite. And my dad's Puerto Rican, and so he'd listen to some hip hop, but it was more like top 40-ish kind of hip hop. And then he'd listen to a lot of R&B and stuff like that. When my parents got divorced when I was like 10, my dad moved back with like his family, and that was kind of a culture shock because my mom's white, my dad's Puerto Rican, mom's from the suburbs, my dad was from the hood. So when they split up, I started going to see my cousins on my dad's side of the family, and that's when I really like started getting into hip hop. Like my cousin Joel would always have like the DJ Clue mixtapes. And then my cousin Julio got me into like Boot Camp, Helter Skelter, and all that. Helter Skelter was like my favorite. Obviously, Wu-Tang, Fuji's The Score is like one of my favorite albums. I really mess with Bone Thugs. I know some people hate on them.
That's a hot topic.
I know, but East 1999 Eternal is like one of my favorite albums back then. So like those are some of the early stuff that I was listening to.
Yep. Yeah, Bone Thugs, man. It's why that's been a lot in the internet. Everyone's fighting over Bone Thugs and a couple other groups, and it's like, all right, settle down. They did their
was a
thing.
banger. That album was a banger.
Hey, they had some top hits too for the time. They broke
For
through.
sure.
And for their area too. There wasn't too many people coming out of that part of the country, so
I mean, who's really
it
come out of
makes no
Cleveland
sense.
since? Do we have a
Can't
Cleveland
think
rapper that came out since?
I can't think of too many. Not
Yeah,
off
me
the top
neither.
of my head. You have to Google
Oh.
some shit like that, but
They
yeah.
they did their thing. They're not like
Um,
one of my favorites, but at the time they were. Like back when I was in like 6th, 7th grade, like that was my shit. So
right. So you say you moved to Florida in what, 2002?
2011.
Oh,
Yeah.
2011.
I
Yeah,
tried
so
moving down here a couple times before that in like '04 and '07, but it didn't stick.
mm,
And then when I moved down in 2011, I was planning to go back to Connecticut again, but then I met the woman who would become my wife, and now I'm Floridian. This is where I live now. So,
yep, that happens.
yep.
You're not
Thank
going
God.
anywhere. Yeah.
Right.
Hey, at least there's some sunshine. Up here is it's already starting to get cold. Like
Yeah.
first thing in the morning, it's already getting cold. It's like within a week, man. There's like no humidity. It's
Yeah.
crazy how
I
quick
could go for
things.
some of that myself. It's too hot here still.
Yeah, you won't have a change until December. So
Yeah,
that's
pretty
what
much.
sucks.
Yeah.
But when you moved down there, that scene was kind of going crazy too. Like, did you get into the Florida scene when you first arrived?
Where in Florida? Because where I'm at, there was no scene. There still really isn't.
No.
I came down because I was a heroin addict. I came down because my mom lives down here. I had nowhere else to go. And so when I first came down, I came down with like my car and like a garbage bag full of clothes.
Hmm.
And so I wasn't really doing much music right then. That's when I like started getting good on beats because I didn't have any of my studio stuff. It was all up in Connecticut at my dad's house. So when I came down, all that I had was my niece's laptop. It was this little tiny like kid's laptop, and I put FL Studio on that thing, and I just like taught myself like how to make beats. Because I'd been dabbling in it a little bit, but I was always a rapper first. But when I came down to Florida, I started really like focusing on the beats because it was all I had.
Hmm.
And then a few years later, when I got my stuff back from my dad, he shipped it down or whatever. I started getting back into the music, but it wasn't until 2016 that I played my first show down here. And in the town that I live in, Flagler Beach, there like the music scene is cover bands, basically like bar bands that play like, your like rock, like classic rock kind of stuff, reggae and things like that. There are groups that do hip hop and stuff around, but it's not like a thing like that. Down in Orlando, there's always been a scene for hip hop, and right now Thurston Howell lives in Orlando now, so like the scene's really bubbling up around him, which is really dope. And then I guess further down, like Miami and stuff, they have a scene, but that's like practically might as well be on another planet for me. That's like 5-6 hours away. I ain't driving down
Right.
there, so.
Yeah.
But
People don't realize how long Florida is.
But yeah, most of the music down here for hip hop is like trap, and that's not what I do or am into. So it took me a while to find my tribe till I got, down with the Suspects or whatever. And now we are the scene in our area. Like we're bringing hip hop into venues that have never had hip hop, and it's pretty dope to see. So, and we're giving other artists a chance too. Like the few little odds and ends artists that are around, we're like, hey, come rock on our show, and giving them a platform. So it's pretty dope.
Yeah. So, and it's such a small place. Like you said, like you're in a big state, but it's a small place. And it's hard
Yeah.
because there's probably not too many people trying to promote independent hip hop too.
Oh, no, not at all. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of rough. Like it's almost like if you had somebody, you could probably really take over the whole entire scene within 6 months because there is no scene. You have to create it yourself.
It's pretty much what's happening. Yeah. We're
So,
doing like a lot of grassroots promotion of our own stuff, like printing flyers and everything like that. So
how'd you guys form?
well, Suspects was interesting, already existed before I got down with them, which is different for me because coming up, like I said, I've been rapping since like 2002. I put together a group up in Connecticut in 2000, like between 2003 and 5. It was coming together called Overly Dope. I was rapping by as Act One back then, and I put together the crew. I like pieced it together. And when I moved to Boston, I took it with me. People that were in the crew that you would know would be like Billy Blaze,
Mm,
who goes by Willie Lowe now. Me and him released our first album together. Like we came up together in Connecticut and then actually relocated to Boston at around the same time too. Evil Doer was known by True back then. He was a producer in OD. Once I moved to Boston, I was living in Eastie. He was in Chelsea. We linked up pretty quickly. I don't know if you know Crafty from Beverly. Crafty Matt, that's my boy. He was an MC in the crew for a while. But anyways, my point is, like, I used to be the guy that would put crews together.
mm.
This already existed, and they used to be the Usual Suspects. And the reason they got that name is because they play this bar. I don't know if you know Tiernanog in Daytona. It was there back when you were living there still. It's the longest continuously running Irish pub in Daytona.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, they do a lot of music and all sorts of stuff. Like they do stand-up comedy
Mm.
nights now and stuff like that. But these guys have had a residency there once a month for, I think it's going on 15 years now.
That's
And
crazy.
this dude Def B is like kind of the patriarch of the whole thing, and he has been rapping in Daytona Beach since the 90s. He's originally from Cali, and he kind of pieced it together and like brought the people in the different groups. It's a crew, but it's a set of acts. We have 8 now between duos and solo acts. Jesus Martinez, my duo, was among the last to join. We joined about, say, like a year and a half ago. And even though I didn't put it together, like since I got down, like I've definitely like made my presence felt, because like I get shit done, you know what I mean? And like I
Mm.
brought like that to the crew. Not to say that they weren't, but like I'm like super uh organized and like task oriented.
Right.
We were talking before we went live about like the compilation albums or whatever,
Mm.
and we're working on an album now with all the suspects. There's 11 rappers in the crew, including a female artist, a rapper and singer named Empress Kirsten, who's super dope. She was the last one to join. um I was the first one to get all the suspects like on a track together. There's a video, if you look it up, Not Unusual with a Z. You might have seen it like a year ago. It was just about a year ago now. With Tom Jones samples, Not Unusual, because
Mm.
Unusual Suspects. And then I did a whole album with all the suspects, and they'd never done that before until I came into the mix. So it's like I definitely brought like something to the table. And once I got down with them, we just been hitting it, like getting into all, like I said, different venues where we hosted a stage at this big festival, Delandapalooza, that they do every year. And it looks like that's going to be like a normal thing for us now. So
Mm.
I'm just really happy with how it came together. But to answer your question, several minutes later,
Nah,
it's
no way.
Unusual Suspects started because Def B was playing shows, putting on hip hop shows at Tiernanog for so long that he'd be like, all right, you can catch us next month with the Usual Suspects, and we'll be back. But then they found out that name was taken, so they changed it to Unusual Suspects.
Mm.
So, but yeah, it existed before I even was down in Florida.
Oh yeah, it's dope though. It's dope to be able to be welcomed into a collective that's already existed like that, and you're killing it right along with them
Yeah,
too.
it's been
So
phenomenal.
yeah, and you're right. You are super efficient. You know,
Thanks for
like
noticing.
yeah, we're working on our compilation album. You're a part of it, and you were right on it. Boom, boom. You're like, here you go. Boom, boom, boom. And it was like, all right, cool. This dude's like on the ball.
I was talking to, go ahead.
It's rough to wrangle multiple artists with multiple personalities, and
Stressful.
that yeah, it's really hard. It is really hard. It takes so much time. When I first thought of the idea, I'm like, oh yeah, a month tops, 6 weeks. Yeah, that was 6 months ago or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
So, but what were you about to say?
I was just gonna say, I was talking to somebody recently about procrastination, and I told them, like, I do not procrastinate. Like, I get stressed out if I have stuff like hanging over my head that I have to do. Like,
Hmm.
I want to do it and get it done. Like, oftentimes, like, I can't even think of like a good example right now, but if I have, like, let's say somebody gives me an album to mix, 10-track album, like I'll probably sit and do it in a day just because I don't want to like stretch it out. Like I just want it to be done. If it's sitting there, it's like bothering me that it's sitting there. My wife will be like, just come back to it later. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I got to do this now.
Right.
So that's a
Yeah.
that's a good thing if it's channeled correctly.
Yeah. Completionist.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. Might
Yeah,
be a song title in the future.
there you go. Use it up. Jesus Martinez. Tell us
Yes.
about Jesus Martinez. How'd y'all form?
Uh, Jesus Martinez is a duo with me and another MC, Jesus Borgia or Borgia. And in 2016, when I started playing shows out in Flagler and I got locked in with the musician community, because I'm like, before getting into the Suspects and like the hip hop stuff, I was down with just like the musicians in Flagler, like all the guitarists and bands and stuff, because that was all that I had. So before I got down with the Suspects, you'd catch me at a show with a bunch of like rock bands and stuff, and I'd be the one hip hop act at the show. There's a guitarist named Trey Gettings in Flagler. He's super dope. And we were working on some stuff. I had him over my house to like make beats or whatever. Like he'd play guitar and I'd, make beats with it. And we were talking. He's like, man, you need to hook up with Jesus. Like Jesus is super dope. And he was telling me about him. Jesus used to run Flagler right before I started coming back out and doing shows and stuff. And he was all over the place, like ripping open mics, setting up open mics, playing shows with bands and like all this stuff. And like, he was just a character. I didn't really know the full story at the time, but he played me a track of his, and I'm, a rapper from the Northeast. So I think I'm the shit. So I heard him and I'm like, this guy's not that good, like whatever, and kind of blew it off. 3 years later, 2019, he hit me up on Instagram, and it was weird because he thought like I was somebody else. It was very strange. And he hit me up and he's like, hey man, we should work together, whatever. And he was living in Georgia at the time, which is a whole nother story. But we started sending stuff back and forth. He sent me a track to get on, and then I'd send him a track to get on, and we were just emailing him back and forth. Within like a week or two, we had like 20 songs done, and I was like, okay, there's something to this. And I think by the end of the month, I took a trip up to Georgia. He was only like 2 hours away from Flagler. And I drove up there, and we did an EP in a single day. And then before that was in July of 2019. And then by the end, the first week we did that EP. And then the last week of July, I went back up again and we did another EP. And then ever since then, we've just been locked in and making music. He moved to Flagler for a little bit, and he's been down in Florida. Now he's kind of floating around, but he's still down, and we're still doing shows. He always makes it back when we have shows and stuff. But yeah, we've been a group since 2019. I make the majority of the beats. My boy Julio used to be J-Biz. Now he's Chrome Rockwell. He's one of the only other producers that we rock on their production. Like, we're very selective about what beats we use as JM. But honestly, I just like to produce our beats. Like, I feel like it's the sound for us.
Right.
But we are going to do a project with Chrome of just his beats, because actually the first track me and Jay ever did was on a Chrome Rockwell beat. So we gotta give him his light too, because he is a dope ass producer.
Yeah. You mentioned 2019. That was a pretty rough year in the world. COVID-19's coming down. How did it affect you as an artist?
I mean, it gave me some punchlines, I guess, had some lines to write. As far as like my life, like, wasn't really impacted where I'm at in Florida. Like, my job stayed open. I was one of those essential workers because I'm in construction.
Yep, me too. Yep.
So it was really like, and Florida had some of the most lax guidelines, restrictions, or whatever during COVID.
I could imagine. Florida's it's like people don't understand.
Freest state in the union.
You have to live there to understand it, and you have to live there for a while. You can't just visit it, and like I said earlier, I think it's just fun and sun. It's a different beast.
It's a different world for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2019, it wasn't really popping yet. It was in the beginning of 2020 that I remember it started coming around, and we did an album, the Corona Pack, when
I remember
COVID was going on, and we had a few tracks talking about that, but really for the most part, like, and I hate to say this because I know like it fucked a lot of people up, but for me personally, my life was not really affected by it. I didn't lose anyone, thank God. I got it once and I stayed home for a week or 10 days from work, paid, and went to the beach every day because I wasn't that sick. So, like, for me, it wasn't anything really. It was more like seeing what was happening in the world and reacting to it in my lyrics or whatever, stuff like that, like using that. But in my personal life, I thank God I was largely unaffected by it.
Yeah, hell yeah. Same, man. I was a essential worker. I work in nursing homes, and I had it actually. I was sick once, but I contracted it 3 other times with no
Wow.
symptoms. Yeah, 4. I'd say I tell everyone I had all the flavors. I had every flavor of Corona, and but life still just kept going on per usual. You know, just
Yep.
you had to social distance and wear your mask outside and do your thing. You know, make sure you're staying away from people. And I like to stay away from most people anyway. So
For real.
right, it's like, okay, that's easy. It's like okay, restrict me from being in crowds. Perfect.
Yeah.
Like, thank you.
I think I can handle that.
Right, give me a reason to stay home. Like it's wild, man. It was definitely a wild time. It brought a lot of people together though. It really did.
Brought a lot of people at odds too,
Mm.
like you got to see some interesting sides of certain people, I
Yeah,
felt.
for sure.
But, it's all pretty much rolled back now. I do think we're going to see something like that again. Just if history is any teacher, I feel I'm not one of these guys that trusts the government a whole lot, you know what I mean?
Right,
And
right.
they made a lot of headway into our personal lives with this
Mm,
whole thing. And though it is dialed back now, I don't think they could leave that alone. I think they're going to return to that in some way, shape, or form in the future, which is sad. And I fear for my children growing up in this new world that they're putting together. But yeah, I think that was just like the test run for what's to
yeah.
come.
You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to know that they were taking statistics and data
Oh
and
yeah,
watching how people reacted and all these other things and then putting it into a AI computer program and say, all right, say we have something 10 times worse. What would they do? You know,
yeah,
it's all they want to predict the future and see how
yeah.
they could just control us. I totally get it, man. I'm not one of those crazy conspiracy theorists either, but I know that the government does shady shit because all the things that they've had to release, like all the
Oh
documents they've
yeah.
released
Oh,
within the
by the way,
past
we were
5
lying
years.
about that.
Right.
Have you read
Exactly. You know, it's like,
I don't know how. I mean, I'm sure
sure,
it's not.
the only
I'm
thing
sure
they
this
won't release is all the crazy stuff.
right. I'm sure this document is not 100% legit, but have you ever read the Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars document? Have you ever read that?
Mm.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, no, I haven't seen that one.
It was like a thing.
No.
It came out
Fill
in
me
the
in.
80s. It came out in the 80s and it was claimed it was like found in a copier. This is the story that was put out. It was found in a copier from some like government building or something. Like they got rid of a bunch of like printers or copiers, and this guy said he found it and he published it. You can find it online, and it talks about stuff like that, like how they will introduce something to the masses, and then, like you're
Mm.
saying, like log how what they got away with, who did what, like what, and back then in the 80s it was already they said it started in the 50s, but now with technology being like so advanced, like they can get the results like that, like
Oh,
they're
yeah.
seeing practically in real time like how people are reacting to everything. So it's i I used to think when I was younger, I was like, man, I wish I was alive like back in the 70s. Like that would have been cool. Like I am so glad to live in this time because we live in like the most interesting time in history, and it's only going to get weirder and weirder as it goes. So I'm
Right.
here for it.
We're turning into idiocracy, man.
Oh,
We're
facts.
every step of the way. Every
Yeah.
step of the way. It's
Yeah.
wild. I watch it all go by and I'm like, okay, what's gonna happen next? Because we're in an election, yeah, so we never know what's gonna
Oh,
happen.
yeah. I'm expecting crazy stuff to happen this fall for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking election day and the day after off of work I've saved up a couple vacation days for
Nice.
I really am, because I don't even want to be out in the world when it goes down, because who knows what will happen.
Yeah.
But let's get back to some hip hop.
Yeah, let's do that. Getting all gloom and doom.
I know we're talking all political and shit. Top 3 rappers in your opinion.
Top 3 rappers. It's hard. My top 2 are solidified. My favorite rapper of all time, living or dead, is Sean Price. And that was since 6th grade when I saw the Operation Lockdown video. Like, I've been down with Sean Price, Ruck and Rock. Favorite living rapper right now is Rock Marciano. Again, with him, I've been down since 2010. That was a weird time in hip hop where it was like people were really trying to stay away from samples and stuff for like the boom bap kind of stuff, and it just watered the sound down. Like, you got all those crappy keyboard beats, and it was just a strange time in hip hop. And then he just brought it back like super grimy. Like, I had Mossberg like right when it came out, and like it blew my mind. And ever since then, I've been a Rock Marciano fan. So he's my favorite living rapper. And then the last one is like, it could really go a lot of different places. It depends on my mood. Like, my usual go-to would be like Thurston Howell, because he's just so original and Puerto Rican. So he gets points for that in my book. But it could really vary from day to day. Like, you know, some days like it might be Guru. Like, other days it could be, you know, somebody else like Prodigy or something like that. So, I mean, it really fluctuates. But my top 2 are for sure Sean Price and Rock Marciano.
Hell yeah. R.I.P. Sean P.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the great thing about music, man, is like our opinions, our tastes are always evolving. You know, we'll never have like there will never be a GOAT. I don't think there can't be, because what if the greatest rapper of all time is born in 2142?
And then what makes them the greatest, you know? Right. It all depends. People have different parameters on what they think is great. Like, my buddy Dave is like really into like technical, like super syllabic, like, and I hate that shit. Like, to me, it's like it just has no soul, no feeling. I like feeling. I like the rawness, the like capturing the essence. So like when me and him would do songs, that's a dude that his rap name's Contrast. He was in my crew, Overly Dope. He's a good friend of mine. He does a lot of artwork for me to this day. But when we would work on songs, we'd always butt heads because he'd want to sit and write for like a week and like come back to it. I'm like, nah, dude, let's write it right now and record it right now. Like, let's capture this now. So I mean, like, even when you're listening to music, it's the same way. Like, certain people like different things, and even on a given day, like, you might like something one day and then you come back to I don't really like that anymore. So I agree, there can never be a GOAT because music is so subjective. It's art, so it's like there is no parameter for that.
Exactly. That's why people that fight over it, and they'll die on their hill. It makes me laugh, man.
Yeah.
Like, going back to like the super syllables and having to pack all that. That's like an Eminem type thing.
Right.
You know, and I equate it to he's saying a lot of words, but he's not saying anything. You know,
it's a lot of times.
A lot of the times. Like, and I used to be an M fan. I used to be an M fan back in like 2000, 98, when he just started getting hot. And to me, it just turned to something that I didn't want to listen to. And I respect the dude. I respect all the guys I don't really want to listen to, but I don't have to listen to them. That's the great thing too. And I won't go at you for wanting to listen to them, so, but a lot of people, man, we see it daily on Facebook and Instagram and all these other social medias. People will die on that hill, and I don't get it.
They want everybody to think like they do, so,
which is so dumb. Like, because it's 2024. It's the narrative is to be individuals, be yourself, but think like me. So it's like that's such a hard thing to like even try to live. It's because you see it every day. Every single day, people want you to conform to what they want you to do, and I'm not going to.
Yeah, it's gonna get harder for the nonconformists in the future for sure.
Top 3 producers, who you got?
Alchemist, Primo, Havoc.
Damn, you got quick answers, man. A lot of people don't have quick answers.
Yeah, I'm definitely like New York is like the heartbeat of my taste. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like
Yeah,
I
same.
know a lot. I know a lot of other places have dope hip hop, and I like a lot of artists from other places, Cali and other places like that. But for me, it's like all my favorite stuff just happens to have come out of New York and actually Massachusetts. And I've been
Mm.
saying this for years. When I lived in Mass, I had the great privilege of working with a lot of dope artists out there. And like to this day, I say like the dopest rappers that I personally know by and large come from Massachusetts. Like now that's broadened and I've met some of the like ones I've looked up to in like New York and stuff like that.
Mm.
But like personal on a friendship level, like all the like people that I know that are really dope at rapping are from Mass. Like there's something in the water out there. Like hip hop is alive and well in Massachusetts and New England in general, but Massachusetts seems to have a real concentration of dope artists and producers.
Yeah, it really does. Massachusetts is definitely the heartbeat of New England hip hop for sure. Because I like what 80% of the people I fuck with are Mass artists, you know.
Right.
And
Yep.
I'm so close because I'm only in Rhode Island. I'm not too far away, and we can always connect. You know, work together on all kinds of different shit, and then do shows. So it's always we're always constantly supporting each other, constantly
Oh yeah.
supporting each other. So and
Which
that's
is
all.
dope too, because it wasn't like that in Mass. Back when I was there, it had like major crab in the bucket thing going
Mm.
on back when I in Boston specifically. I don't know if it's still like that now. It doesn't seem to be like the stuff that y'all are doing like really has done a lot to garner a community,
Mm.
which I gotta applaud you guys for because
Thank you.
I got all these people on my friends list now that I do not know, like never met them, and it's all from like this community of like hip hop heads, and it's been so refreshing to have that. You know what I mean? Especially like I was saying, like down where I'm at in Florida, there's not a lot of people that are into the shit that we're into. Like I could walk outside of my apartments out here and like ask 10 people like who Rock Marciano is, and most likely I wouldn't get one correct answer, or they'd be like, it's the boxer, right?
Right,
So
right.
so to have like a whole like community of like people that are into the shit that I'm into is has been really dope. It's like if I'm ever feeling like alienated, just hop on there and like, you know, jump into a conversation about some hip hop shit. So it's pretty cool. So
Yeah,
kudos to you.
thank you, man. And there's so many groups that spawned from what everyone was doing too. So if you want to go check out a group specific to something, it's out there now, you know,
Right.
and a lot of it sprung up from lockdown, you know,
Hmm.
because a lot of people weren't essential workers and they were staying at home because they had nothing else to do. Like shout out to Anthony from Hip Hop Lifers, man. He really started kicking shit off. That's how I
Yes.
got involved with the social media side with it. Was I met him? We Warak, you know Warak. Everybody knows Warak. The dudes that jump out of shit and rap terribly online. They do like TikToks and shit. You never
Yeah.
heard of Warak? We met. Me and Anthony met through a group making fun of them. And that's how we started off. And then Hip Hop Lifers, we brought that up, went to create a culture corner. Then we started doing shows, and it just spawned all from there, you know. So yeah, lockdown brought a lot of good things, but
Yeah, I think it was 2021. Mo Ruckus invited me to the Hip Hop Lifers group, and I had no idea what it even was. And I
mm,
just was like, "Oh, Hip Hop Lifers, I'll join that. That sounds like something I'd be into." And that's when I became aware of all of y'all and everything like that. So, and been
oh yeah,
down since then.
oh yeah. But thank you again for shouting us out because we do it for you guys, man. We're fans, you know. We're fans first. There's no money to be made in this. Like, if anybody gets that twisted, like we're out to make some money. We ain't making no money. We
Yeah,
ain't making.
underground hip hop is very hard to make money in.
Yeah, no,
Any angle you approach it from, it's
none,
difficult.
none. You ain't making money off your merch. You ain't making money off shows. You ain't making money off
Yeah,
anything. It all
yeah,
goes back into something else. That's
yeah.
just how it goes. I think some people that don't know that are outside our circles, they probably look at it like, oh yeah, they're just trying to make a dime off these guys. It's like, nah, man, it's the
Yeah.
opposite. I'm trying to make them money.
Right. Yep.
So, but family life, you said you have kids, man. How's it juggling your dream of hip hop and juggling your fam? Because I know that sometimes it's rough on people.
Yeah, I've always been a believer of like you have to make time for the things that are important to you. So I mean, my studio right now, if I were to turn the camera around, like you'd see like all my beat machines, and then like on the opposite wall, this big rack with all my daughter's toys. So it's the playroom slash studio right now. When they were younger, I had a crib in the studio, you know what I mean? Like, and
Mm.
music is not just something I do, it's like who I am. Like it's so interwoven into my identity that it's never a question of if I'm going to do it or how am I going to do it. But it definitely had to take some different forms as, you know, my first daughter was born, and then second one I'd have to kind of like work it around it. Now I have a 10, well she'll be 10 in a few weeks. 10-year-old and a 7-year-old daughter, and obviously my wife. But my wife sees like this last year and a half that I've been with the Unusual Suspects, I've been like pushing harder for this than I ever have. Like even from back when I started, because like I told you, I had a drug problem for a lot of years. Like I wasn't focused. Like right now, I've been clean for 4 years. Um, my job is good. Family's good, healthy, thank God. Now I'm just pushing. Like I'm
Yeah.
like pushing so much. We're doing as much as we possibly can. So my wife is cool. Like come home, make sure the kids are straight, do a little stuff around the house I got to do, and then it's like I go into the studio and I make a beat. I have to make a beat a day at least. And then, you know, she's humoring me with all these shows that we got going on now and everything like that. So luckily she's supportive. If my wife was not supportive of me, I don't know that I would be able to push as hard as I
Mm.
have been this year. So she gets like all the credit in the world for that. But as far as me, it's like musician's gonna music. Like I'm gonna do it one way or another. Like it'll find its way out, you know.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to her. Shout out to you for being clean for 4 years, man.
Thank you, man.
Congratulations.
Appreciate
I
it.
know it's a rough it's rough. It's a rough life to live, and yeah, it's hard to kick. A lot of people can't. Shout out to you, and you did it in Florida, bro.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Because like we were talking about earlier, it's a different world.
I got clean during COVID too.
That's crazy.
What up, Bad Seed?
We got Bad Seed. Shout out to Seed. We got a little something with Bad Seed and Mike Martinez coming up on the collaboration
Oh,
album. Y'all better watch out. Y'all better watch out. Might
yes,
be the
that one's
first
gonna be
single.
fire.
Might be the first single. I'll do a little tease right now, but hell yeah, man! Shout out to you. Shout out to her because it, like you said, you know, music is what you got, and it's better than what you were doing. And
Absolutely.
I'm sure she's fully behind that because it makes you a better man, better father, better all around human, you know. So we're gonna be wrapping it up in a few minutes, bro. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Appreciate
Now
it.
now it's time to shamelessly self promote.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, we love that shit. Tell us where we can find you, what you got going on, what shows you got coming up, anything dropping, where you want to sell something, let us know.
All right, let's see. First off, my Instagram. Follow me if you don't at Beats by Mike Martinez. I post a beat video every day. I've been doing that for over 2 years straight now. So lots of beats every day. If you're ever interested in one, you can DM me and I will sell it to you. Um, we have a show coming up Saturday in Flagler Beach. Nobody from Flagler Beach is watching this probably. But Saturday in Flagler Beach, Coquina Coast Brewing, the Unusual Suspects with DJ Irv Nice. We have TNT, the Nasty Tone, who's been rapping in Daytona since '93, I believe, if not earlier. So he's like a legend locally. So we got that show on Saturday. Coming up in October on the 19th, FU from Queens is going to be down in Florida, and we're playing a show with him, the Unusual Suspects, with FU as the headliner at Shanghai Nobbies in St. Augustine. That's October 19th. October 24th, Jesus Martinez is opening up for Chesky Ramos at Tiernanog, and we're looking forward to that one. We got a bunch of shows. Basically, if you follow that Instagram, you'll see all the flyers and stuff because I shamelessly self-promote all day long.
Oh, yeah.
So as long as you're following me on there, you will know what I'm up to.
We love that shit. We love the promotion. Push it. anything you want to put on the Culture Corner, just blast it out there. The floor is yours. That's why we created the Culture Corner. It's for the artists to put their names out there, put whatever they got out there, put your links. We don't care.
Yeah.
You got a freaking GoFundMe.
Let me shout one more thing out before I forget. I don't have a project right now that's scheduled to come out. I've dropped 8 albums this year already so far, albums and EPs. But the last album that I dropped, full album with Deese, Big Deese, was Desperado. It's 18 tracks. I produced the whole thing. There's a crazy single called Paul Simon. If you've not heard it, it's Big Deese, Paul Simon. It's got a video to it. Go check it out. It's a banger. Like, I feel like people are sleeping on Big Deese. Like, he is one of the best to ever do it. Like, his bars are crazy. He can write hooks. He can do topics. Like, his flow is insane. Like, stop sleeping on Big Deese. Like, y'all need to go check his shit out. Not just the ones that I produced, but anything that he drops is fire. So I just had to say that.
Yeah, he's super versatile.
Absolutely.
Super versatile. But the way we like to wrap it up around here is the final question I'd like to ask my guests is, what's your issue? Now, what's your issue could be a pet peeve. It could be a topic in the world that you stand on. Mike Martinez, what's your issue?
My issue? Oh, dear.
That's usually what we get is, oh, shit.
Yeah, I should have prepared for this.
I got a lot. Yeah, we like to spring that on you.
Right now, and knock on wood, I have no issues. I'm going with the flow. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got a purpose and a plan, and I'm slowly attacking it piece by piece. So, God willing, no issues.
No issues. You just live in Florida. That's
hey,
all.
Freest state in the union, my man.
Hey, yep. Shoot first, ask questions later. It's crazy. Like my brother, I tell you, my brother lives down there, and he wasn't a gun guy ever, and now he's a gun guy.
Gotta be. He lives that close to Daytona. He's gotta be.
Oh man, I'm like, dude. He's like telling me all about his guns. I'm like, hey, that's cool.
That's funny.
Hey man, like you said, it's Florida. It's a different world. Shout out to you. Shout out to everybody tuning in.
Shout out to Culture Corner.
Thank you, sir. Shout out to anybody
that
will tune in. Check them out. Mike Martinez everywhere. The Unusual Suspects. Jesus Martinez. He's got all kinds of shit going. He's in a beautiful land of freedom where he can have a show every weekend because it's nice weather, and he's not going to have 6 feet of snow in about 3.5 weeks.
Nope.
So shout out to you, man. Thank you for joining us. We'll have to do this again.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Pleasure's mine, brother. For the Hip Hop Happy Hour podcast, we're out. Peace.